friends, and welcome to this episode of Pajama Hentai, where we get into our coziest pajamas, brew ourselves some tea, and talk about smut. I'm your host, Faith, aka Dreamy Girly Pop on Twitch, and if you like reading, watching, or playing spicy media, then come sit by me, okay? We don't kink shame, we might kink question, but we reserve the right to at least question. Today's episode, we're talking about my first hentai anime, offering my virginity to a gangster. If you have this anime or manga on your TBR or TBW list, and you don't want spoilers that I'm gonna give in this video, please add this video to your watch list so you can watch it later. If you have a spicy anime or spicy manga that you'd like me to read, watch, and review on my channel, please be sure to drop it in the comments. I will be vetting the subject matter and the topics and tropes that are in those animes and mangas to make sure that they align with what I deem acceptable. Please make sure to check the acceptable list of genres in the description of this video. Also, today's tea is not sponsored at all, but I thought you might like to know what I'm drinking. Maybe. Today's tea is actually 2 tea bags from Harney Sons. One tea bag is from their RMS Titanic blend, and the other bag is from their Paris blend. So sometimes I like to put 2 different teas together to enjoy both of the tastes and aromas of those teas. So let's get into it. The story synopsis. Now, what's interesting is the story synopsis that I have online from the official website kind of doesn't go into really kind of like the synopsis. It kind of gives this very poetic kind of description. So I'm gonna read that synopsis, right? That official synopsis, and then I'm gonna tell you what happens a little more plainly. He shows off his beautiful tattoos and showers her with love. She thought it would just be a one-night dream, but shy office lady Nagisa meets the mysterious Yakuza Ren while traveling. He asks her to pretend to be his wife and takes her hand for just one night. Seeing him treat her like a treasure, Nagisa makes a decision. A gentlemanly man shows her his raw affection. When he embraces her passionately yet tenderly, she melts away. A super sexy Yakuza and a virgin office lady with zero confidence, a dramatic love story of doting love. Okay, well, that's all very nice and beautiful. First of all, in the anime, I guess because it's not dubbed yet, apparently that's in the works though, they stuck with his Japanese name, which is Sazanami Soshi, not sushi, Soshi, S-O-U, Soshi, okay. So when I read that it said Ren, I was like, what the hell is that? But I guess in the manga that is translated into English, they gave him an English name, I suppose. But they didn't do that for Nagisa. Nagisa's name is the same, Amami Nagisa. So, and I don't like the fact that they tell you that she has no confidence. I'm sorry, she has zero confidence, because that's not what I found in Nagisa at all. But I digress. What ends up happening is Nagisa is 20 some odd years old. I think she's like 26. And she has this complex about being a virgin still. So she decides that the only person who can change that for her is herself. She's the only one who can break that complex for herself. And she's right. You know, you make your own decisions and chart your own path and what have you, right? Okay. So she goes off to Macau. A series of events happens and she stumbles across Sazanami, and basically he asks her, hey, can you be my wife for tonight for this event? But come to find out, he knows her they've met before, she just doesn't remember. He remembers her and her kindness, so he's immediately drawn to her, and he just can't believe his luck of meeting her in Macau all of a sudden. And afterward, he puts her up in a hotel and, you know, treats her nice and takes her to dinner. And she decides, and this is why I'm saying it's not that she doesn't have any confidence, because the girl takes the reins quite a few times. She decides in that moment, she's like, listen, this is what I came out here for. I came out here to meet somebody, get laid, and go back home. So if this is gonna be it, I gotta take my chance. And she's very honest with him. She's like, hey, listen, you know, I'm playing your wife, you know, and whatever. You seem nice. Want to do it? I think she even explains to him, hey, I'm a virgin, I have a complex about it. Would you help me out, basically? So they do. But what ensues is, because Sazanami knows her from a previous meeting, right, and is absolutely enamored with her, he follows her. Well, I mean, he lives in Japan too, but he follows her back to Japan and ends up tracking her down at her company, which isn't difficult for a Yakuza, I'm sure. and buys the company to become the CEO, to become the boss. They get into this bet that she can't not fall in love with him within 3 months. And then romance and hilarity ensues. Danger ensues as well, and we'll get into that. So the story setting, like I said, Nagisa and Soshi meet in Macau, and I'm going to show a map of where Macau is in relation to Japan. And then they go back to their lives in Japan, somewhere in Japan. When they open on Macau, they're showing historic buildings that you would know, oh, that's Macau, like without having to say it. Whereas when they go back to Japan, there's no landmarks depicting where they're at in Japan. I can't pick up where, and I even tried to Google it and whatever, I can't pick up where they're at in Japan. What I loved most about this anime, once again, this was my first foray, my first introduction into watching hentai. And I clandestinely could not have picked a better swoon-worthy anime to get into this. So if this is your first time getting into hentai, whether in anime form or in manga form, I would recommend this one because the characters, both Soshi and Nagisa, are very well thought out. They're very kind, they're very patient, they're very understanding. Nobody's demanding, there's no trauma. What I love most is that Nagisa is initially posed as this naive, unconfident, bored virgin office worker. She ends up showing how truly strong she is while also keeping her kindness. Her kindness is a strength, and it's also what makes her so endearing to Soshi. As we look back in Nagisa's journey after watching the series, okay, so like go through the whole series, and then if you like it and you watch it again, we see that she's not just this lost young woman that's impulsively dyeing her hair and jetting off to Macau and going all alone to have this adventure, but she's a woman who took her life direction into her own hands, made changes, and made her adventure happen. That does not seem to me as somebody who's not confident in themselves. I mean, it's one thing to have a confidence issue or insecurity or complex about, how you're going to perform in bed because you never done it before. But really, whether she sees it or not, she's a very strong-willed, very confident woman. Also, she doesn't shy away from being Sazanami's wife for a night. Even after she finds out he's Yakuza, she chastises him as well. She chastises Soshi for betting on her. Nagisa gives it to him and says, listen, I don't really fucking appreciate that you did that and you put me in danger. Like, sure, you know yourself, but I don't fucking know you from anybody. Like, don't fucking do that. And then she also does the same thing at the office when he unexpectedly shows up and she's like, what the hell are you doing here? She has no problem voicing against Soshi. She has no problem doing that. She also does it again when she pushes him away when things are getting hot and heavy at his house, when he's become the boss and he calls her to his house to have a meeting. I always laugh at this part. So she goes to the house and it's on the clock. She's on the clock still, and things start to get, intimate. He starts kissing her, she starts kissing him, he's touching her, he's fondling her, he's trying to go to town, okay? And she is still kind of like, even though she enjoys it and she trusts him and she likes him, right? In her mind, she's like, what is even happening? This was supposed to be a one-night stand. I was not supposed to be seeing this guy. What is going on? She's having this internal fight of, hey, I really like this and, I like this guy. But also, this is really fucking weird, like how this, developed. He's fondling her, he's kissing her, he's whatever. And she peers at her phone and realizes it's like 5 o'clock or a little after 5 or 6 or something. And she pushes him off her, holds the phone up and says, look, our company doesn't approve overtime, so I gotta go now. And she runs out the room. And he's left sitting there like, what just happened? And even he starts laughing and he tells the driver, bring the car around and take Nagisa home. And I love that. So what I disliked, I'm gonna tell you right now, there's really not much I didn't like. There wasn't really anything in the storyline that jumped out to me to be like, whoa, I really don't like that. There is part where, a bit of a trigger warning, but it's not too graphic. But again, it still might be triggered. There's a part where Nagisa gets kidnapped by the leader of the opposing Yakuza group and held in a warehouse, and he goes to rape her. But so that might be a little triggering, but that wasn't anything I would say I disliked, because it wasn't anything out of what I would have expected. Like, of course, you're gonna have a villain. And of course, because you're dealing with Yakuza groups, of course, it's gonna be the opposite, opposing Yakuza group, Something I noticed, now this could be something that was odd, cool, interesting, etc. Soshi plays the field between being a yandere and a romantic. And if you're not familiar with what a yandere is a Japanese fictional character archetype, often found in anime, manga, and games, who appears loving and gentle initially, but then becomes obsessively violent or mentally destructive due to the overwhelming love. And I only use this term loosely and lightly with Soshi because he's not getting to like the extremism of what a yandere could be. The only reason I use that term is to liken it to what it could be, because he does have the power. Like, he has this power dynamic. He has the power. He bought the company. He really could, if he really wanted to, take advantage of, control, obsess over, manipulate Nagisa, but he doesn't. I liken him to Silas in Love in Deep Space, which is another one of my boyfriends. Silas, if you have played Love in Deep Space, or if you haven't played Love in Deep Space, okay, Silas is a similar character. He is a kind of a mob boss, mafia boss, mafioso. Him and MC, the main character in the game, have a past together. Not in this incarnation, in other incarnations. They have a past life, they have a bond together, and so he remembers that bond, and when he finds her and meets her, she does not. He does get rather frustrated and tries to control and manipulate this connection. He's forcefully trying to make her remember out of frustration of like, oh my gosh, like, I've been looking for you this whole time, I found you, why don't you fucking remember me? But as the story goes along, he realizes she's not gonna remember whether you're pissed off about it or not. And so he starts to kind of back off and keep a connection with her, allow her to come to it on her own terms, and allow her to make her own decisions of her own volition about Silas and having a relationship, a friendship, a connection, whatever. And that's what I liken Soshi as, is he buys her company, makes the bet with her that she can't resist falling in love with him in 3 months. But I have the feeling that if she truly did not like him, and he came into the office and was like, oh, hi, baby, like, where I can't believe you left me. I wanted to hug you. I wanted to hug my wife in the morning, blah, 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 whatever, right? And tried to schmooze her. If she really was like, what the fuck? Get out of here. I want to go on with my life. I have the feeling that Soshi would be like Silas and be like, all right, I'm going to let you be. He'd be brokenhearted. He'd be frustrated. He'd be upset. But he wouldn't want her love on his terms. He wouldn't want her love from manipulation. He wouldn't want her love disingenuously. So, to no one's surprise, my favorite character is Nagisa Amami. Now, she believes herself to be naive and inexperienced in life simply because she's a virgin. She says, I'm 26 or I'm 20 some odd years old, and I see people having relationships and I see people having experiences and moving on with their lives, and I just am kind of stuck and stagnant. But even before she loses her virginity, she shows her strength of will by holding her own against Sazanami. Even when they're in bed together the first night and he takes his shirt off and you see his tattoo, right? Which I'm not gonna lie. I first of all, my first Pajama Hentai was Yakuza related. Then my first hentai anime was Yakuza related. I think it's due in no small part, I'm sure, to the gorgeous tattoos that the Yakuza have. Might have a problem. So even when she sees his tattoo, it's like, oh, does this tattoo scare you? And she's like, oh my God, no, I find it beautiful. And he is so shocked, not because, somebody called it beautiful, right? Okay. But he is so shocked that the measure of her kindness just keeps getting topped, right? From the first time they met. And then when I meet her again and I show her my tattoo and she realizes who I am and this and that, whatever, it still doesn't scare her. Like, her kindness and her non-judgment know no bounds. She reminds me of Belle from Disney Beauty and the Beast. Belle is my favorite Disney princess, but not because she's her own person, she's a bookworm, she's whatever. What made Belle so amazing to me, even as a little girl, and then especially as an adult now, is she literally will scream in the Beast's face. Not once, but twice. After he rescues her from the wolves, okay, and she's taking care of his paw, she's like, listen, thank you for rescuing me. And he's like, oh, well, you shouldn't have run off or whatever. And she's like, well, I wouldn't have run off if you didn't frighten me. And he's like, well, I wouldn't have frightened you if you were in the West Wing. And then she goes back and says, well, you should learn to control your temper. And she goes toe to toe with a big ass beast who's got a temper problem. And that's what made Belle the best for me. And that's what I saw in Nagisa. And for a girl who admitted she had a complex about being a virgin and not being worldly and but not being, experienced or whatever, she sure as shit got a backbone on her. Here's the thing about Nagisa. She doesn't acquire strength. None of anything that happens in this storyline makes her stronger. May make her more outspoken, but her strength was always within her. I like to think that she actually just discovers that she has this strength of will the whole time. She wanted to get over her complex that she had about being a virgin and being 26, but I also love seeing that she also finds out what she's made of. Especially when she headbutts the gangster who kidnapped her. Even with the gun pointed at her head, she continues to try to get out of her bindings. She is staring down the barrel of a gun. She doesn't know if this guy is bluffing or not. She doesn't know this guy. She barely knows this guy any better than she knows Soshi, first of all. What she does know is her level of kindness, her level of thoughtfulness. That overrides her logic because she's trying to get out of her bindings in order to make her way back to Soshi in order to help him. The other Yakuza leader says, listen, I kidnapped you and my guys are already on their way to Sasanami headquarters and it's gonna be a bloodbath. So her immediate thought is, oh shit, Soshi's in trouble, I need to get there. Girl, what are you gonna do? Let's be, you were not even confident in being a virgin sexually. Now all of a sudden you wanna run into a Yakuza clan war? What are you gonna do? But that's where her kindness and her strength override her logic when it comes to just anybody. It doesn't even have to be Soshi. We see her assist a man who has kind of tripped or he's exhausted on her way home. And she's like, here, have this bottle of water. Are you okay? And he's like, oh, thanks. I just, was dizzy or I was tired or whatever, right? And she's like, all right, make it home safe. And he's like, oh, thank you. You too. She just has that baseline kindness. So it doesn't even have to do with Soshi. But now that she's intimate with Soshi, she loves Soshi, she has yet to admit it, but she likes Soshi, right, enough. The instant that other Yakuza boss says, oh, I've already sent my guys over and it's gonna be a bloodbath, okay? She's like, oh shit, I need to get there and kick some ass. I don't know. I have no idea what she was thinking, but she was gonna get there and she was gonna help somehow. So that is really why she's my most favorite character, because she really does have so much depth to her outside of just being an inexperienced virgin. Now, my least favorite character is kind of similar to the character in the Yakuza in his Omega, but this one's for a different reason. Whereas in Yakuza in his Omega, her childhood friend, who is a cop as well, is kind of using her and manipulating her in the beginning to get to the Yakuza. In this one, that's not what's happening. And actually, I would argue that what's happening in this anime, in this manga with this character is kind of more, no, I wouldn't say insidious, but I would say it's a little, in my opinion, it's a little worse. Like, okay. Hold please, let's sip some tea. I could deal with you trying to manipulate me and use me to your advantage to gain access to the person that you can't gain access to without me. Okay, because all I'm gonna tell you once I find out is go fuck yourself and then I never talk to you ever again. Goodbye, good luck, have a great day. But I I do not like the fact that you're underestimating me, being condescending to me, and treating me like a child because you've known me since we were kids and you've only known me as a virgin and you think I'm naive and impulsive and whatever. Okay? And this is what this character kind of does. So this is also, just like in Yakuza and his Omega, this is also the main character's childhood friend. Okay, Nagisa's childhood friend, I believe his name is Daisuke, or she calls him Dai for short. He's also a cop and he means well and he wants to look out after her. However, the way he does it is very condescending and it tells me that he doesn't see Nagisa as an adult. Like, it's one thing to grow up with someone and remember them as a kid and you were close and whatever, but it's another thing to keep them in that frame. It's another to keep looking at them and treating them like the kid you knew them to be. He questions her aesthetic changes, which, first of all, rude. It's none of your business what I want to do with my hair and what my body and whatever. And the solo trip, out of concern. Sure, if all of a sudden I showed up with pink hair, and I did, showed up with pink hair and I was going off traveling by myself to another country as my childhood friend, sure, you'd be concerned and be like, are you all right? Like, have you lost it? Are you, what's going on? But after seeing her with Sazanami, he still underestimates her and instantaneously goes into protection mode and gives her a child's alarm. His first knee-jerk reaction is to go into protection mode, go into condescending mode, give her a child's alarm for her protection. It wasn't to ask any fucking questions. Maybe you want to give me the benefit of the doubt that I maybe might know what I'm doing, or maybe I don't know what I'm doing, and maybe I just need somebody to talk to, and you don't even ask me. And it says if to say that she doesn't understand the gravity of what she's gotten herself into. Like, that's the other thing. It's like, you just assume that I'm just flitting about believing that this guy is not as dangerous as he is, or the world that he lives in is not as dangerous as it is, and whatever. Like, she's fully fucking aware, my guy. But he then realizes that she's no longer the childhood friend he was used to, but that she did in fact become a woman on this trip. Like, there's a moment where it does kind of occur to him, oh shit, something's changed, and I think I know what it is. She went there and she got the job done, and she's not as ignorant as he thinks she is. And it's when she stands up to him and tells him, excuse me, don't say that about Sazanami. He's not like that. At least he's not like that with me. Because, again, similar to Yakuza and his Omega, her childhood friend tries to explain to her, because he underestimates her knowledge of the gravity of the situation, or her acknowledgement of the gravity of the situation, where he tries to explain to her, oh, this guy is bad news, and he's this, and he's Yakuza, and he's whatever, and he's like bad-mouthing him. Where she stands up and she's like, excuse you. First of all, I know exactly who this person is, at least a lot longer than you have, and on a more intimate and personal level. So don't talk shit about him when you have no idea who he is. And second of all, that's not the person I've experienced. So I'm gonna stand by my experience with this person before I take the intel that you've got. Same thing as Yakuza and his Omega is where the childhood friend said, oh, you're just allowing your Omega senses to take over. And she's like, bitch, don't sit there and gaslight me. You're keeping me trapped. You're keeping me in a box that makes you feel comfortable with how you think about me. And that doesn't fly with me. So, just like the other episode, and probably the episode coming forthwith, I cannot show you the screenshots of the down and dirty, the business, the spiciest moments, but I can kind of explain it to you just like I did in the last one. So the anime does a very cinematic framing technique where they open on a scene already in progress, and then they go back to kind of then come forward to tell you how we got to that situation. And the situation and the event that we open up on is Sazanami and Nagisa having sex, but not just having sex. Unbeknownst to us, it's her first time. And when they open, it's him making a meal out of her. Woo-wee. Okay, they had dinner, but he wanted dessert. Okay. Then he tells her, all right, listen, I can't hold back anymore, especially when you look so cute and you're saying all these things. And he goes to undo his pants, and yes, yeah, okay. And I have to say, it is their first night together is the spiciest in my opinion, because it's not sans romance, but because there's gentleness, there's kindness, there's patience, there's understanding, but it's not as romantically charged as, say, the preceding nights that they have together, the preceding moments that they have together that are more kind of romantically charged. As the story progresses, going to watch their first night together, that's really the spiciest, moment of the anime. Now, the most romantic moment is actually non-sexual, and I have kind of a couple of them. The morning after is one of the first romantic times we see. First off, when they're having their first night together and she orgasms, and I believe he orgasmed too, like they finish together. She faints from this orgasm, which by that point, I think it was like orgasm number 2 or 3 or something. And so, for an inexperienced person, virgin, basically, like that's a lot, okay? And so she kind of faints and kind of like passes out. And she goes, we don't see him doing this, but we see this in the morning after. Nagisa wakes up sleeping next to Sazanami, wrapped in a robe, and she realizes, oh, I don't remember anything after the orgasm. He must have put me in a robe and put me to bed. Like I'm under the covers, I'm comfortable, I'm sleeping, and he's rolled over sleeping, passed out as well. It alludes to the fact that he didn't try anything else. He took care of her. It was very kind, that was very sweet, it was very romantic. And especially for somebody who's a virgin who doesn't really know kind of the name of the game here, to wake up and be like, oh, I don't remember anything after a said point, but also I'm safe. Like I'm okay. Like I'm okay with this person who really could have taken more advantage of me. That was very, very romantic in my eyes. The other romantic part is that when we see them have sex after the kidnapping, Sazanami finally tells Nagisa about their previous meeting and how much her kindness meant to him. So he explains the whole thing, shows her the handkerchief that she gave him that night, and explains, oh my gosh, that kindness to me was like everything, and I've been looking for you ever since. And at that point, she realizes, oh my gosh, this guy is not a horrible person. Like I could really see myself falling in love with him and kind of losing the bet, if you will. Then during the last time they have sex in the anime, Sazanami confesses. And I can't tell if he's doing this as an internal monologue or if he's saying this out loud. It's not quite clear to me. He says, in some form or fashion, that he wants her to love him for the rest of his life and that he wants her to only have eyes for him. This confession, this deliberate articulation of love and desire, passionate love, is one of the reasons that I read, watch, play romance games, because it sets us up to see love expressed from a masculine figure, I'll say it that way, whether that be a male, female, what have you. When in masculine teachings, emotions are not embraced. They're taught to not be embraced. They're taught to not be articulated. Any manga, anime, or game that I play, romance, whether it be BL, straight, I have yet to read Yuri, yet. I have nothing against it, I just haven't done it. Whatever it is, right? The guys, when it comes to their person, all of that masculine bullshit goes out the window, and they allow themselves to be so vulnerable that with that person, they can just voice their emotions and their passions, their desires, their love uninhibited. They can articulate it eloquently, and they can express, I only want you to look at me, and I want you to love me for the rest of your life and the rest of my life. And it's just so swoon worthy. And for him to do this while they're in essence making love, like I wouldn't even call it, effing or having sex. Like they are making love. Like it's just, it's just so swoon worthy that it makes me blush. And it just makes me like, oh my gosh. It's just so great. It's just so great. This is why I do what I do. This is why I read and watch and just, ooh. So how many volumes or episodes does this anime and manga have? It's got 8 episodes and 6 volumes. Now the 8 episodes, this was something new to me as well, but I have found that this isn't kind of the bar, or this isn't the expectation for all hentai. So it's just depends on, I don't really know what it depends on, honestly, that this anime, their episodes only last about 6.5 minutes, credit to credit. There's not really an opening credit. There's not really an opening musical number, like intro, like we're used to in regular anime, right? There is credits at the end with music and what have you, but nothing like an outro, like again, like we're used to in regular anime, right? So you could really, I watched this in one evening and I've rewatched it, a million times, and it's pretty quick. This anime and this manga seem to be pretty popular because it was announced in April of 2025 on Ascendant Animation's Twitter, or X, I don't know what we're calling it these days, that the cast announcements for the English dub had been announced. And I'm so excited that apparently it's coming out on Ocean Vale. I'm still kind of new to where I'm watching hentai. So apparently Ocean Vale is a service that does stream these. That came out last year. So apparently it is popular enough to necessitate a English dub. And I'm hoping that they're actually going to be making more of the anime because it's only 8 episodes. And I think that it only covers volumes. Like I want to say 2 or 3, maybe 3, maybe being generous, right? Of the manga. So I think it only covers like the first couple of volumes, and there's only 6 volumes. So hopefully they're bringing out more episodes to wrap up the manga. We can only but hope. So fingers crossed. Is it censored? Yes, it is censored, and they did the traditional flesh-colored pixels, only covering the small area needed. It's not a huge square covering a lot, so it's not too distracting. It's not too horrible. All right, and that makes this episode of Pajama Hentai. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. I truly appreciate it. And if you'd like to catch me on Twitch, I stream on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And be sure to like, share, and subscribe this video. Have a great day. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time.